Hey, for the next session, I'd like to introduce our next speaker from Reasons to Believe. Joy Versace is a pastor. He's is the Scholar Community Growth Specialist at Reasons to Believe. He was a pastor of evangelism for over 20 years and joined Reasons 2 years ago. With a bachelor's and master's specializing in evangelism, Joy is now pursuing a doctorate in the same field. He is best known for equipping believers to share their faith effectively and address doubts when safeguarding their relationships with non-believers. He trains RTB's scholar community to engage non-seeking non-believers for Christ while developing them as teachers and equipping them to reach the unsaved spheres of influence. So let's get a big round of applause for Joy Versace.
What a joy to see you all, to be here today. Hey, forgive my glasses. My eyes are really light sensitive, so I have to wear these horrible things. But we're going to be pals by the end, so we're going to engage. It won't be too big of a barrier. My name is Joy Versace, and like you mentioned, since 2002, I have been training Christians to reach the non-seeking non-believer in ways that protect their relationship with their unsaved friends and their ongoing spiritual influence. And so at RTB, I have the privilege of equipping doctoral graduates and doctoral students to become effective scholar evangelists. So I'm very much looking forward to contributing in those ways here today with you all. So to get things started, I want to hear some of your thoughts. We'll see a question that's up on the screen. What are some benefits of having pleasant spiritual conversations with your unsaved friends? Go ahead and shout it out. Let me hear. What are your thoughts? Deeper connections. Yes. Let's hear some more. Oh, what was that? Planting seeds. Yes, definitely. Let me hear another one. Breaking barriers. Yes, this is fantastic. I love planting seeds. I love seeing barriers broken. All of this is excellent. Non-believers often state to me that they like and that they're looking for my input. They share their spiritual observations with me. They admit their doubts with me, and they give me significant spiritual influence over their lives. Now, there's nothing special about me that can't be reproduced in someone else. This is largely because I consistently initiate frequent spiritual conversations. And as a result of keeping those pleasant, when they see me, they automatically start thinking about Jesus. They automatically start thinking about the gospel and allow me to say things that in another context they might be less willing to receive and hear from others. You can do the same thing. So to open hearts to the gospel, pleasant spiritual conversation is quite possibly the most powerful and overlooked evangelistic tool that you have. And so today, we're going to explore what makes that the case. And so, picture it. Okay, it's Pittsburgh, 1988, living there, between there and Staten Island. I kind of moved back and forth. And I'm constantly surrounded by elderly relatives of mine from Italy. In particular, my Uncle Giovanni. He would share with me lots of wisdom, and sometimes what I now realize were these misconceptions about what was dangerous. At that time, 1988, computers are becoming a thing. And so he would tell me, he's like, no computer, they give you cancer, stay away. Yeah, he says while smoking a cigarette, right? And there's this weird Italian tradition that it's about bread loaves. Okay, it's about bread loaves. So I'd be bringing groceries in, and I have my bread loaf in the paper bag, and there's a top and a bottom, and if you set it upside down, he clutches his heart and he shouts, no bread upside down is offensive to God. Caspita, sto ragazzino offende Dio scortese, and then he just goes on and on and on and on. And so I developed these aversions that my friends later found amusing. And I'm not superstitious, but to this day, because my brain's just been trained this way, when my wife, who's not Italian, she puts the bread loaf upside down, inside I can't help it, I judge her a little bit, right? And so kind of like my childhood superstitions, many of us unknowingly accept these misconceptions about evangelism. These misconceptions could actually create unrealistic, intimidating, and sometimes even unbiblical expectations that could discourage us from engaging and initiating spiritual conversations with our unsaved friends at all. So today, we're going to put an end to that. To open hearts to the gospel, we're going to shake free of misconceptions that stress us out and that hold us back, and we're going to learn how to start up pleasant and influential spiritual conversation with our unsaved friends. So let's see, who here wants to be an effective evangelist? Go ahead and raise your hand. Oh, okay. Oh, it looks like there's a bunch of us. Yeah, it's really nice. Then let's begin by defining what that means and getting rid of some pressure, alleviating some pressure, and just taking a fresh look at this topic. The simplest definition for successful evangelism would be drawing someone towards Jesus. Now, we do that in two primary ways. The first one is making a positive impression. So let me hear, shout out for me. What is important about making a positive impression? What do you think? Opens the door, yeah, definitely. Okay, what else? Yeah, it doesn't put people off. In fact, it attracts them. Very, very good. Let me hear one more idea. Yeah, yes. It makes what you're doing legitimate. Absolutely. You know, the Apostle Paul speaks to this in 1 Corinthians 13:1. He says, if I speak with the tongues of mankind and of angels, but do not have love, I have become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. Like, let that sink in what Paul is saying. I may feel very justified in the truth that I'm giving. And if I am not communicating it lovingly, all they are hearing is gong, gong, clang, clang. And it wasn't wise, it wasn't spiritual, it was just obnoxious. The Apostle Paul tells us that we need to speak lovingly. Next is to be a link in the chain. Now, what do you think being a link in the chain might mean? What are your thoughts? Oh, there's a spiritual path. Yes, absolutely. There's actually a journey to someone coming to know Jesus. Someone's salvation is like a chain with many links. And in fact, there are 5 steps in order that almost universally all non-believers go through in their journey to accepting Jesus. It's virtually universal because it's based on brain science. And if you learn to identify the steps one goes through in their journey to receive Christ, you can be intentional about providing what's needed. And so right here, you probably have a paper handout. In case you don't, or you'd also like to have a digital copy, you want to pull this up because we're going to be using a handout that we're going to reference quite a bit during this session. And so the 5 steps that somebody goes through, and this is in your handout, in receiving Jesus begins with trusting a Christian. So imagine you're not a Christian and I'm, your saved friend, or your Christian friend, you would call me. Until you, or even, we're probably not friends yet. Let's just say we started working together or we go to school together. Until you trust me or someone like me who is a Christ follower, it's unlikely that what we represent is going to carry much influence with you. Once you do trust me, well, now you got to become curious as to what it is that I believe and represent. Until that happens, there's not much open thinking or critical thought about it. From there, it becomes opening to change. You're going to notice that I live in some ways different than you, that I make decisions somewhat different than you, and you have to see yourself somewhat in my position and to be able to empathize with how it is that I'm processing this. Then it becomes seeking answers. This is what we call the seeker. At this point, you have specific questions, and you are now pursuing answers to those, which is the last step before someone officially receives Jesus, which is by asking him for his leadership and his forgiveness. Now, these steps, and in this order, are nearly universal for the non-believer's spiritual journey. So, imagine you are not a Christian, and you're still working on step 1, and we work together, or maybe we go to school together. What might be the difficulty with me focusing my energy on trying to get you to receive Jesus right now? You need Jesus. But you're not even at step 1 yet. You're working on that. So go ahead and shout out. What might be a challenge with this? What might be unstrategic about this? What do you think? Oh, they don't trust me. Yes, we don't have a relationship of trust yet. And until that is established, me speaking into their spiritual worldview is not likely to be well received. I'm also going to feel quite discouraged because all these people that I'm sharing Jesus with aren't receiving him yet. And that might be because I'm not giving them what it is that they spiritually need. See, step 5 won't happen without steps 1 to 4. Success is guiding someone forward step by step. And so that means moving somebody past step 1 is as important. Whether it's building trust or it's piquing curiosity, we want to focus on what they need to take that next step. And when we can do that, we could identify successful evangelism much better than only fixating on step number 5. I've had the pleasure of walking many people across that number 5 line, and I was not the person who took them through steps 1 to 4. If they hadn't done that, I would have never been able to take advantage of that final step. Successful evangelism is moving them forward. So whether it's building trust or piquing curiosity, we want to focus on what they need to take that next step. Now, let's consider another misconception that could stress us out and limit our spiritual impact. So I'm going to do some questions. I want us to all answer yes or no together. So let's take a look. If your non-believing friend stops sleeping with their boyfriend or girlfriend, are they automatically saved now? No, they're not. Okay, so how about this one? If your non-believing friend stops abusing drugs and alcohol, are they now saved? No, okay. I'll try a really controversial one. How about this? If your non-believing transgender friend transitions back to their birth gender, are they now saved? No, they're not. See, as evangelists, we're going to find ourselves in ethically complicated and sometimes difficult situations. So let's take a look at some key principles that are going to help us navigate how to maintain our influence without compromising our faith in the process. So the Apostle Paul talks to this concept somewhat in Galatians 2 and Ephesians 2, where he says, I do not set aside the grace of God, for if righteousness could be gained through the law, then Christ died for nothing. For it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourselves. It's the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. It's good stuff. So apparently, when it comes to salvation, if it could be attained through works of the law, Christ died for nothing. And if there's anything that I did that I could subsequently brag about or boast about, apparently that has nothing to do with salvation. So then when it comes to a non-believer's salvation, the issue is not their lifestyle choices. I don't have to be stressed out by that. I don't have to be repelled by it. I don't have to worry about how I'm going to navigate it. If it is, they could just make a different lifestyle choice and be saved. Much more likely, I'm going to address that, I'm going to challenge that, I'm going to lose my influence, damage the relationship, and it's gotten them nowhere. What they need is a relationship with Jesus. So this brings us to the difference between evangelism and discipleship. Knowing how their focus differs can be amazingly freeing. Now, evangelism focuses on clearly and lovingly communicating the gospel to non-believers. Discipleship focuses on continually and intentionally, or the continual and intentional process of equipping believers to be like Jesus. For most of us in this room, that's synonymous with spirituality. It's what we know, it's what we experience at church, it's how we live, it's how we make decisions, etc. So we go off and we want to engage with the unsaved. We bring what we know best, unfortunately, to a demographic that this is not relevant to. Let's look at John 14:15, where Jesus says, if you love me, obey my commands. So go ahead and shout out, what characteristic is it, according to Jesus, that's supposed to motivate me to obey him? Love him. My love for him. So obedience to Jesus comes from those who love Jesus, which is Christ followers. Paul makes a statement about this tension that we might experience in 1 Corinthians 5:12, where he says, "What business is it of mine to judge those outside the church?" See, our accountability, our judgment, is limited to those inside the church, those who've accepted Jesus' leadership and forgiveness. According to Paul, the behavior of those who have not accepted Jesus is none of our business. That is a relief. Those are fights I do not want to be having. Those are hard conversations I don't enjoy. I don't even enjoy having them with Christians, but I do, because I'm supposed to pastor discipler. But it makes a lot of sense, especially considering how salvation works. Right? James tells us in James 2:10 that for whoever keeps the whole law and yet stumbles at just one point is guilty of breaking it all. You see, judgment does not work in bits and pieces. We're judged by the law as a whole. And since we've all sinned, we're all guilty, which means there are only two categories, and they're not bad good. It's forgiven or unforgiven. So according to James then, how much more saved is a wonderful person than a horrible person if neither accept Jesus? Yeah, zero. So fixating on a non-believer's lifestyle choices will ruin our influence and discourage us from engaging them with the gospel at all. Discipling involves confrontation, accountability, and even church discipline. It's actually kind of hard. Evangelism, once you get used to it, is so much easier. Whew. So now that we have some of these stress-inducing misconceptions that prevent us from even bringing the topic up out of the way, we're ready to calmly and confidently kick off some spiritual conversation. So to build our spiritual influence by inspiring them to explore faith, we're going to focus on some science that Jeff Swearing talked about with regards to life in the universe. Now, there's a device called the James Webb Space Telescope, which is the most powerful telescope ever in history. Right? And it was created explicitly to find life on other planets. So we're going to use that to instigate spiritual conversation. Because we're sitting there, there's the non-Christian, I want to bring this up, how do I bring it up? You need Jesus, that's probably not right. So you just don't say anything, right? So let's do a quick James Webb Space Telescope brainstorming exercise. So turn to the person next to you or near you, and this person is going to be your partner. Let's do this now. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Find your partner. Okay, now, if you don't have a partner, shut off. If you don't have a partner, raise your hand. If you don't have a partner, okay, I don't see any hands, so that means everybody has a partner. Okay, good, excellent. Then what you are going to do is I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and I want you to have this conversation. No wrong answers, you're just brainstorming together. If the James Webb finds life on another planet, how might that influence people's understanding of God? No wrong answers, you're just brainstorming observations. You got 3 minutes, and go. Gosh, wouldn't that have helped when I was trying to get your attention again? Oh my gosh. What were some things that you came up with in your little discussion groups? Go ahead, just shout it out.
A threat.
Oh, a threat. Yeah, I could totally see that happening if the James Webb finds life on another planet. What else? Let me hear something else. Say what? Oh, I heard not a threat. Yeah, I could totally see that happening too. If the James Webb finds life on another planet. Yeah, I heard something over here. What was it? Or go ahead, say it like you mean it. Oh, good news. Yeah, I could totally see a lot of people receiving it that way if life were discovered on another planet. That's really good. You see, what you just did is actually an evangelistic tool that's called a bridge tactic. It's using a non-spiritual topic, science makes a great example of that, to transition into a spiritual conversation. The James Webb is great for this. So to prepare and show you how to do it, I'm going to do 3 things. Okay, first, I'm going to walk you through a simple 4-step outline of how to go about doing that. Then I'm going to demonstrate it in action. I'm going to show you what it actually looks like to do this with a non-believer. And then third, I'm going to give you a chance to try it. which really just means you're going to do what you just watched me doing with a partner. Okay, now these steps work as a template for the James Webb topics or any neutral subject to lead to spiritual conversations. Science is fantastic with this. So here is your template. Number 1, you bring up a neutral topic. Number 2, you introduce a spiritual element. 3, you validate their feedback. And then 4, you contribute a Christian perspective. So let me show you what that looks like with the James Webb Space Telescope. Where is Dave? There you are. Hey, handsome. So let me get a volunteer that you're going to bring the mic to, okay? So I want a friendly volunteer who will play the role of my non-Christian friend. Don't worry, you're not going to have to say more than like just a couple sentences. It'll be easy. Volunteer who's going to play my non-Christian friend. Oh, right there.
Yes. Good job.
Hey, friend. Hello. Since we're pals now, what's your name?
Mike.
Mike. Joey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And so hey, Mike, I want to, let me see here. Hold on a second. So, Mike, introduce a neutral topic right now. So before today, have you heard about the new James Webb Space Telescope?
Yes, I saw the mirrors at NASA when I worked there.
Whoa, you worked at NASA. That's so exciting. It's great. It's great. Hey, NASA Mike, I hear that it's like the most powerful telescope of its kind like ever. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. One of the things it's explicitly created to do is to find life on other planets. Since you work at NASA, hey, do you think that it's going to end up finding any?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's great. Whatever it discovers, because it's a spiritual element, whatever it discovers is going to be big news. You know I'm interested in spirituality. And so I wonder, if it does find life on another planet, like how might that influence people's understanding of God? What do you think?
People probably wouldn't believe the Bible as much.
I'm going to validate right now. Do you know what? That's fascinating, and I could totally see that happening if the James Webb finds life elsewhere. Now I'm going to contribute a Christian perspective. As a Christian, my understanding is that God created us because he loves us and wants a relationship with us. So I guess my initial view about life on another planet would be to view them as just another part of creation and a part of the extended family, like the life we have here on earth. By the way, thank you. Could you applaud him? Yes. Now, once you've started the conversation, it is a win. Their mind is now directed towards Jesus. You've further associated yourself with spiritual conversation, and you did it in a friendly way. You could keep it as short or as long as the two of you feel comfortable. You've turned their attention to Jesus. No matter what their response, positive or critical, your responses get to remain the same. If you noticed, everything I said to him, I had already pre-written. I didn't know what he was going to say. You're just sharing observations. You're not challenging them. Most unsaved friends will respond politely. That's why they're your friends. They will respect both you and your beliefs. This approach requires no special scientific knowledge, and your response isn't dependent on what they say. It's a simple way to start a friendly spiritual conversation. And so now we're going to have you give it a try. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to turn to your partner, the one that you've already been with. One partner is going to be the evangelist, so that's like what I did. The other partner is going to answer as the unsafe friend. That's what NASA Mike did, right? And however you want to do that. The evangelist then prompts the spiritual conversation. Now on your handout, this is steps 1 to 2. So you have your paper handout or digital. It's right there in front of you. Your unsafe friend will give a reply. An unsafe friend, for the sake of time, be friendly. They're your friend, so, respond kindly. Evangelist, using the outline, engage in spiritual conversation, which is steps 3 to 4, then swap and repeat. And note that your handout has specific examples of things you could say for each of these steps, and the same pre-written stuff that I had on the screen. So now everyone, go ahead and put your hand up right now. Everybody, put your hand up. Now, if you know what you're supposed to do right now, go ahead and put it down. Okay, everybody's good. Then you got 5 minutes. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, everyone, let me get your attention back. Shh. 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 Works so much better with my mic on, right? So let's see. Now we are going to move into the conclusion by doing a little quiz. All right, this is based off what we covered today, and it's called thumbs up or attitude. So what's going to happen is I'm going to make a statement. It's going to show up on the screen. And based on today's presentation, if it's true, I want you all to give me a thumbs up. If it's false, I want you to give me faces with so much attitude. Like throw tomatoes with your eyes, right? Like try to light the wall on fire with a glare, okay? So this is how we're going to determine true or false. So let's jump in. The 5 steps to salvation are: receive Jesus, trust a Christian, become curious, open to change, seek answers. Oh my goodness, let me get this off right away. Oh my goodness, lies. No. So often we approach people evangelistically as though their first step is always receive Jesus. That is so discouraging when we're not received well. Often the first step is trust a Christian. Knowing where they are in the chain will help us be much more intentional about meeting their specific spiritual needs. The next one. Evangelism focuses on clearly and lovingly communicating the gospel to non-believers. Discipleship focuses on the continual and intentional process of equipping believers to be like Jesus. Well, look at all this thumbs up. All right, let's see. Yes, wonderful. If you are a Christ follower, I am judging everything you do. If you don't know Jesus, I don't care. You need a relationship with Christ. And so that is where attention is going. So now let's look here. How to have spiritual conversation with a non-believer. So bring up a neutral topic. Contribute a spiritual element. Let's see. Criticize their feedback. And then contribute. Oh gosh, let's see here. Lies! No. We want to validate their feedback. We don't want them to criticize our observations, and we are just making observations. If you noticed before, I don't actually say I agree with anything I necessarily hear. I simply say, yeah, I could totally see something like that happening if XYZ took place. All right, now, here is what we're going to do, because so often we can engage in material like this and think about the unsaved as a bit of a demographic, but then struggle to think through how to apply this specifically. So what we're going to do is we're going to take about 15 seconds, and what I'd like you to do is think of an unsaved friend in your life, someone that does not know Jesus that you have access to, that you could attempt to instigate spiritual influence with. And for the duration of these sessions, we're going to be keeping that person in mind with regards to how it is that we might engage them somewhere in the spectrum of with the gospel. And just to note, just for the sake of clarity, we're not talking about your scandalous Christian friend that's living compromised, needs to repent. That person needs the accountability of discipleship. We're talking about someone who does not know Jesus. This person has not accepted his leadership and forgiveness, and you are a Christ follower that has access to them. So take 15 seconds and think of someone specific right now. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to have you do one more activity. I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and with a partner, what you want to do is identify which step your unsaved friend is currently on. We want to be strategic about how it is that we could move them through these sequence of events to a relationship with Jesus, and let's determine what it is that they need next. So with your partner, go ahead and discuss that now. You got 3 minutes. Okay, let me have you back. Shh. Yes, there we are. And so, first thing, completely unrelated. My phone is telling me I don't have a SIM card, and I know that I do. And telling my phone about Jesus won't make it better. And so since there are STEMmy people in this room, if any of you know what to do when your phone says you don't have a SIM card, we're just going to say SOS on top, come talk to me because I'm having cyber rage and I need wisdom right now. So after that, what you'll see on the bottom here is my name and my email address. I would love to be available to talk with you more moving on about questions that you may have, strategies, etc., in engaging your unsaved friends for Jesus. This is a demographic that Christ loves so much. What wouldn't be worth it to help these people know and receive his love and his forgiveness? And so if there's any way that I or our team could be of service, I want to make that available to you. Also, if you're a doctoral graduate or a doctoral student, right, consider opening hearts to the gospel by participating with our scholar community and allowing me to equip you as a scholar evangelist. To learn more about that, just shoot me an email and I would love to set you up for that opportunity. So now thank you so much. It's been such a joy interacting with you. Let me pass it off to there and we'll be good to go. God bless everyone.